Kichwa, 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 welcome to Let's Set the Record Straight, Conversations with America, April 18th, 2021. The music we just heard was Fool's Paradise by Shaka Khan. And the message in the music of the 1970s is very revealing to the what we're experiencing today. So, without further ado, we're going to talk this year, because this is the new year for life of America, for indigenous people around the world. The new year starts at the beginning of spring, basically 10 days after the winter solstice. And so, depending on where you are on the planet, because you have to remember everything on the planet works in dualities, and there are more than one duality simultaneously working at one time to keep the life cycle flow moving. That flows through the whole planet, not just where we are. So, the topic for the year will be about building a different future. Earth, as everyone has felt it, is moving, things are changing, and there's just no more excuses. You have created whatever you've created or didn't create, whatever you invested in or didn't invest in, you're living it. It's completing. And the power of nature has really, really resurrected itself. The animals and the plants look absolutely phenomenal than what they have looked in the future. So everything is kind of taking on a stronger force, a stronger power. The power is really igniting and moving itself forward and changing. So as the power increases, the consequences, the karma, and the abundance and productivity increases with it. So this show, we're gonna talk about no more excuses. Many people received the New Year's address, and someone had brought it to my attention that they got the address, but they didn't fully understand it. What do you mean by no more excuses? Break that down into details. And I wanted to, but I didn't want it to be a 25-page address, because nobody wants to read that long. And this year, we did not have the equipment available to us to really put it in a oratory and send it off. There was just too many fires going on, and I wasn't able to focus that way. So I kept it in writing to make sure that you got it and understood that this year is going, as you notice, people are being pushed to the wall of their emotional comfort zones. And if what you are living in and the type of situations that you have been using and manipulating and stuff to be able to survive and thrive in are not correct, you're really having a very, very rough time. And you're going to see a lot of your nature, your artificial nature, or what you have been living in an artificial way, is going to crumble. It's like it's going to thin out and disappear. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about, we're going to redo what is community. Why is community important? We did it. The show I heard was off the hook. I was in Belize at the time at the other campus, and I didn't have any internet. I really had internet problems. And due to the COVID-19, they're not going to be solved that quickly. So unfortunately, the show that was done for some reason was not recorded. so we wasn't able to put it on the site, and people were asking about it. So we wanted to redo it. Now that everybody's in the States, I'm in the States, and we can redo it and put it up for our extended family who are not made able to catch it live. So we don't want anybody to miss out on what we feel, what we're thinking. So this is your time to do it. So that will be our second part, and we will continue it into May if we have to, um, depending on what goes today. We also have a component called In the News. And in the news, um, the New York Times have brought out that there's been over 64 police killings in the last 20 days. And the more I read about all these police shootings and the killing of people, and, a 9-year-old got arrested, pepper sprayed, a lieutenant in the Army was given a suspected, he wasn't doing anything wrong, but had a license tag because he had just bought a car. They hadn't gotten his license plate to him, and he was stopped, pepper sprayed, searched, beaten, and so the question was, what did he do wrong? He didn't do wrong, and he stood by his guns. He kept asking, identify what you're seizing me for, and of course they didn't have nothing for him. They had nothing for him, and he went through that, and the video has went viral. So we want to talk about what kind of state we're in. So we got a lot on the plate today. We have a real busy, strong, let's get involved, let's get busy uh, discussion this April, the beginning of 2020. So without further ado, let me see who our elders are. Elder Eugene?
Yeah.
You in the house?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Now, Elder Eugene and I had the discussion this morning over No More Excuses because I'm graciously staying with them before I get to West Virginia. I get my jet lag and stuff. So this is my little vacation with my other family members to see folks before I get busy. And I'm not going to want to come back out into this other part of the world. So no more excuses. Let's start with discussion that. You wanna discuss that? Because no more excuses. Because I thought what you had said to me this morning was really powerful. And one of the things we do here at F.I.A.H, and whenever I have discussions with any of people, I want to stay in truth. So if you don't understand it, say it. So he said, I read it. I said, so how would you feel? Any questions about what the New Year message was? And he said, RaDine, what do you mean by no more excuses? Is that correct? Am I?
Yes, correct.
I'm saying that correctly. And so he said, I think that's something we should talk about. And when Elder Eugene say that's something we can talk about, and I take it seriously, so I got it in. No more excuses. So the New Year message was no more excuses. And why? It came to me to constantly say no more excuses because we have changed. And most of us should have noticed a change. Have you noticed a change in the emotions of how we're responding and what we're not responding to? Have you noticed a change in anything, Elder Eugene, or anybody else?
People, it's good and bad changes. I think from that point is that good changes are when people take a positive view of life and you see it in their life. Bad change that I'm seeing is there's a lot of brutality, police brutality, and also the killing of each other. That has not changed. It has escalated.
Well, I agree it's escalated. But when let me clarify what I mean by change. I mean that change should be where, have you noticed that a lot of issues are coming to head? A lot of, whether it's negative or positive. Um, um, Life does makes with the COVID-19. Let me clarify that. Let me start that over. With the COVID-19 making us slow down, COVID-19 stopped us, our ability to stay in our artificial paradigms and live in our egos. You had to stand still and see and look what was around you. And in doing that, a lot of people got sick. A lot of people went into depression. A lot of people went into mental states that they were able to handle before, but they're not able to handle it now. The pressure was put on because people were not able to have the ability to escape. Now you had to stay home and sleep in the bed you made. And so it forced people to have to look at things and create change. So when we said, when I no more excuses, and I'm to ask you to look at it, how many people are doing okay? Or are there emotional fires all around you? People are falling apart. Any comments, audience?
All right, I have a comment. This is Denise. I definitely
Keep
think that KTY, everyone, I definitely think, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Okay. I definitely think that people's emotions, if they weren't able to balance their emotions within themselves before the pandemic, then it just flew off the roof with mental health issues. I have a girlfriend now who just called me to let me know she's out of her depression and ready to go back to work. But a lot of people who were isolated, who were not able to feed off the energy of other people, had to sit back and take check and deal with their shit. So to me, it's a lot of emotional energy. The fact that there's an increase on black crime showed me that we turned on each other. This is a great opportunity for us to come together in community and build our resource network to tap in, because I mean, I went through Great Neck the other day, and that's a white area in New York, and the whole place was shut down. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? If white neighborhoods are shut down, what's happening in black neighborhoods with businesses and stuff? So I'm interested to get feedback on that, because definitely I know the pandemic has closed down a lot of businesses, and people have to work together to restart, to support each other, because it's not going to happen any kind of way. So that's my 2 cents.
So thank you for that, Denise. Anybody else? No, let me just answer that. From what she's saying, it sounds like people are going to be forced to rebuild community. And that we just can't live in a paradigm of running to stores and what have you. We're going to have to develop networks where we have to build rapport with the people who support us and take a responsibility in that. Did you see that? Are you seeing that happening? Not happening, but as being a solution? That maybe this is a way of starting community. Because today people think of community, and community just a place where you just happen to live, but nobody has no actual unity in the community. And with the COVID-19 and being locked down, is this the time where we got to start building some unity and start respecting the precepts and the principles that build that? Do you see that as being a solution, Denise? Or this is what's causing, this will be the solution for what you see happening?
Oh, I definitely think there's an opportunity for us to come together as community because we have no other choice. We can't survive as individuals. We can only survive as a collective unit. Everybody's got a piece of it, something to contribute, but you have to give up and you have to trust. And like I said, um, you know, I don't know what's happening in everybody's communities across the nation, but I know that businesses have shut down, people are out of work. So when there's no work, then that's opportunity for you to create your own thing. Um, and then that means that you have to set up a bartering system or some way to be able to um, compensate each other because people may not have dollars and cents. So we are at a very interesting point. And like I said, I'm watching what all of the communities are doing because all communities are being affected differently. But we all going to have to come together. Our community, I believe, has to come together as a collective in order to survive.
Right, in order to survive or to thrive.
Thrive, because this pandemic thing is not going to go away. This thing is
Oh
not
no,
going away
it's
right
being
now.
institutionalized. I see it every day. Anybody else like to talk about what they have seen? Oh, so we really see now that there's actually no more excuses. Because before, when you had it where you can constantly run and find something to uh, evade building relationships, building networks that will allow you to connect, building ways to support each other, and I felt it even in Belize. It was very, very clear, even though they don't have a two cases. Okay. Um, we all felt a unity, even the people from the states. We all came there for different reasons, and maybe came there with different ideals, but we're coming very, very clear that if we're going to thrive, we all have to support each other. So it doesn't really make a difference if you're not necessarily a part of my personal network. We were real clear that we're creating a new network, okay? And this new network has to be based on respect and trust because all we got is each other to keep the boats flowing. And so when we say change is here. It's not something that's coming. We have watched it come in, and now it's 100% here. And so with that, there's no more excuses on what you can't do. For years I've listened to people tell me, have all kinds of excuses. They did not support, they did not invest, they did not. Okay, and now they're coming back. Oh, we're really clear that we got to get off our egos and our ideals and stuff and start being and supporting something that has the potential to support us and grow. So when we say no more excuses, that is a part of it. I'm going to ask Elder Eugene, what did you uh, think when that was said?
Well, no matter what the challenges that we face, that we have to come up with solutions. And to say I can't is an excuse. But when in fact that we have to begin to create the solutions that we need to deal with uh, life challenges, because I believe that life has challenged us to change. In Even with the COVID-19, um, it's challenging us to change and realize um, what we're up against. Because I believe that we can create um, our own remedies for healing. Because if you look at COVID-19, it's designed to me to destroy one's life because it's not making your health better. So there's got to be of the other to take your life and destroy it. So we have to have a defense in place if we want to live.
Well, yeah, that's a very good analogy. Um, Using the COVID-19, it is for people who are not life enthused, who are just hanging on. But with no more excuses, it meant that we all have to be of service to life. We have to be serving productivity, accomplishing, and having a focus forward. And that is something that people who come to the United States, um, they come looking for the dream of, I don't have to focus on anything but living for my pleasure and comfort. It's all about my pleasure and my comfort. And everything I do in exchange for maintaining the nature, the planet, the future can go out to the wayside. And now with no more excuses, if you're not about uh, 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 having a service and providing a production, something to the continuation of the building of life, then you're going to get the consequences that create. And that's what no more excuses. Man, there's just no more excuses. Everybody wants to have a good life. Or what does that mean? They want to be able to go shopping at convenience and have all the things they want for their convenience, but they're not necessarily open to doing what is necessary to keep convenient or building structures that will allow you to be a part of larger structure. And when you understand that emotion is a structure, everything in life is structural. So, what kind of life structures have you actually built? And are you really ready to live in them?
I would like to say is when you mentioned about when people want to come to the United States, you got to remember what the United States is and what they promote. That's what the big dream come from. The United States have given the people this idea that if you come to America, you can become multimillionaires, billionaires, and live that kind of life. They don't really uh, produce natural way of living. They all produce artificial living with materialism, because that's what they talk about, having the dream homes of living the fantasy life. So that's why a lot of people come to America to get a piece of what they call the pie.
Yeah, fool's paradise.
Right. That's exactly what we're experiencing, because they say in a lot of the foreign countries, they're so depressed. And so when they believe that if they come to America, that their life will become much better. And that's why a lot of them come.
Well, you know what I've learned in traveling in all of these countries and stuff, what is called primitive and depressed, you actually live a stress-free life living with less than you do with living with more. So when you go to these countries, these people may not have the latest blender. They may not have the latest car. There may not be a gas station nowhere near to fill a car. But the stress level they don't live in stress. Okay. And now they're bringing in TV and internet for their entertainment, which means that they are no longer being productive. But they have more time to watch TV than most people in the States who have to work. Most of the people do not work a 40-hour week. The whole structure of the culture is different. You follow me? Especially if you're in a tropical place. No one works a 9 to 5. By the time 9 o'clock comes, they've start working. Work starts a little bit before daybreak, and it's over by noon. So by the time we're going for lunch, they're out. They're on siesta. They're not coming back because they work with the flow of the weather. Okay. And so nobody works in the heat of anything, except except people maybe working in air conditioning, or and your work will dictate what kind of how you can work and what conditions you can work in. Um, but they don't have the level of stress that we do. And what I have learned is that looking at the ocean or looking at a body of water and listening to the waves is just as refreshing, if not more, than watching TV,
Mhm.
especially watching what they have on TV today. Okay. So it's like one, nature is a form of entertainment. It really, really, but we're not there no more. And they don't understand that what they have is so valuable until they lose it. And then they'll tell you, no, we used to sit in the hammock and, and now they can appreciate it. So it might be something that's with us that we don't appreciate the grass we have until we get a chance to see that the other side is not necessarily greener, you know. But as far as no more excuses are concerned, many of United States keeps saying that there's a mass exodus of people flocking to the United States, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because with all the shootings and the killings and what they've heard here, the food shortages and blah blah blah, many people are not trying to make no quest here. The I want to get to the U.S. quest is not as hard, because they're very clear that they may get here and there may not be a job that they can kind of wrestle from the people who are already here.
Right.
If you have done any, paid attention to any of the immigrant um, rights and activism, um, slavery and immigrant slavery is very strong in the United States.
Mhm.
Okay. And like most of people tell you, well, they can't get the people who live here to do it. So they got to depend on those immigrants, and getting the immigrants to come. And as after they're here for a little while, they find a way to get out of that, a trap too. But cheap labor, cheap labor is what keeps the manufacturing industry in the United States going. And uh, uh, until they can get their fleet of robots, and that's what it's going to be. But that doesn't mean that we have enough to continue the lifestyles that we living. And so we work 2, 3 jobs just to keep things going, instead of having, like what Denise said, we got to create our own, and bring some of our own creativity to the and start supporting it so that we can get out of it. But with no more excuses, it means that emotionally that we're going to have to create healthier relationships of unity. And unity is not limited to male and female, husband, wife. It's with children. It's with extended family. It's how we navigate, and what values are we insisting will be real. And I'm watching one after another get go through a burnout, because the way that the discriminations and the prejudices and stuff that was used to usurp and take life is not necessarily is being challenged, and the challenge is busting up old negative paradigms. Anybody else is seeing that? Have a comment on that? Did everybody understand that? Mhm. So anybody have a comment on that? No more excuses. Anybody finding it in there happening with them? How many people everything is just the same? Oh man, I'm not getting no response. Come on, y'all. You mean you got to take a minute to think about it?
Well, nothing's the same. I mean, the reality of life is that every moment is different, and nothing is the same as it was last week or last year or last month. But definitely people's stock has run out if you haven't prepared. Life is not allowing you just to sit by and squat off of life anymore. You have to contribute.
What do people think about that? Come on, give me an example. Give me what you think. How many people enjoyed the New Year update? Nobody? Oh wow. Nobody enjoyed it. Nobody saw it, found it hitting the spot.
You was right on with it.
Say that again, sir.
You were right on with it.
Oh, I was right on with it. Well, thank you. So how's that affecting your life?
Well, I know I just got to do better.
Well, one of the things about no more excuses is that if you don't do better, if you don't feel like you're going to be stuck there. You're just going to be stuck. You're just, life is moving forward and you're not hanging in there with it. Because how many of us really think that the United States is going broke? Or is already there?
Well, I've known for some time that the United States had been broke, according to their records, since 1933. And what's going on is their system of controlling us with this idea of money that as long as they have the ability to print money, they can back it up through slave labor. Because if you look at the United States as it relates to its wealth, it don't really have any. That's why they have to steal from other countries, and there's always the propaganda of having war. War produces income. Crime produces income. And it's still because they're so far in debt, I don't think we'll ever get out of the debt that the United States is in.
Well, the future generations will, but I've always thought that the United States was leveling all their debt against the soil of America, against us as the people.
Right. They have.
Okay, and as we die out, because we're not supporting life, our continuation of life, we've just kind of walked away from it. It's allowing that money to be used. But we're into the trillions upon trillions upon trillions. I mean, a few years ago it was millions. Now it's, in the last 20 years, we went from millions, billions to trillions. In the trillions since 2020, the T word is now used.
Right.
And I'm like, this is crazy. So what comes after the T? The Z? We've got zillions.
Right. And I believe the reason they don't worry about it is because of what we have allowed them to do. And they use our ignorance as collateral because they know as long as we are in the shape that we're in, there will always be them ruling over us.
Well, if we go by the way of the people of North Africa, they exterminated them and it turned it into a desert. Right. So that'll be a second part of the earth mass that will be a desert because they're hitting Central America hard.
Right.
you know, the next wars, the covert wars are with Central America because it still has trees and forests, and they want to hit that wealth. But
well, they tried that. They tried that last year when they set the rainforest on fire.
Yeah, you mean in Brazil?
In Brazil,
Yeah.
the rainforest, they set it fire, and they claimed it was due to global warming.
Yeah, but a lot of that was because they claimed it was for the ranchers and cattle, but it wasn't. It was actually for lumber.
What is for lumber?
Trees.
Oh, for lumber.
Yeah, lumber, trees,
right,
and natural resources and stuff.
Yeah, there's demand for trees, right?
And, you know, we take it for granted that paper, cardboard, all of that stuff is made out of trees. But here in the States, has anybody noticed that your cupboards are going bare? Have anybody noticed?
What is going bare?
The food cupboards in your stores are going bare.
Yes, I've noticed that. Yes.
You know, and that have
I've
anyone
noticed
else?
that also. BJ's, all these places, they hardly have nothing.
J.C. Penney's is going out of business.
Yeah, J.C. Penney's been going out of business for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were already out.
And I noticed yesterday
that
a lot of the shelves when we went into
no, in Walmart it was disgusting.
Yeah,
I mean, wow, half the damn store was empty, and it was a big one. There were people coming in, but it wasn't not a lot of product there. So we are being affected by the like I said, things have changed. How many of us are going to understand that a part of that change means that we must return to growing our own food or finding new foods that we can eat, and learning how to make food out of whatever's growing around us? You know, and that's something. It's, you know, we kind of gotten addicted to going to a lot of these other places, and the food is not necessarily, you know, cooking is not necessarily what we're used to doing, and so therefore we don't, we're not necessarily paying attention to the fact that access to food is not there. So when we say no more excuses, what it means is that we're being forced to, not forced, but those who are embracing nature and getting on the side of nature will have a chance to thrive into the future. Because I went to places, I'm in North Carolina right now, and I've been in places where there is, you know, supposed to be all health and all organic and stuff. And the first thing I walked in and I noticed everything was wrapped up. Everything was in some kind of package with some kind of marketing on it. Okay. You know, and everything. And I'm like, well, when did nature become a package store?
And the big question is, where are they getting the food from?
Right. You know, so, but there was only certain kinds of food. I noticed I couldn't find pumpkin seeds. And pumpkin seeds, oil, regulates your hormonal system. Ain't that deep? But there's no pumpkin seed oil in the stores. But there is pumpkin seed oil, sunflower oil, naturally cold-pressed sunflower oil does too. It'll regulate your hormones and allow your body to replenish the growth hormone. That's what it'll do.
That is true.
Huh?
That is true. Pumpkin seed oil.
And so if you use it, you know, so I'm here looking for a little bit of pumpkin seed oil because it's not necessarily
What about Nuppanade oil?
Who?
Nuppanade oil.
Nuppanade?
Oh.
I never heard of that.
You know, Nuppanade.
Nuppanade? I don't know. You mean nutmeg?
Yeah.
Nutmeg or Nuppanade?
Well, either one. Hey, you should messing with me.
No, I just wanted to know what you think. It might be in Germany somewhere, a nutmeg.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about nutmeg oil,
Yeah.
nutmeg oil is very good for you. And it's supposed to be a good painkiller because that was one of the products that what's the brother Bridges was supporting with building and the connecting of the black businesses, and he's out there in Atlanta. What was the name of that group? You remember? Anybody?
Talking about Dr. Sabi? Huh?
No, not Dr. Sabi. It was Bridges. He
Dr.
got
York?
murdered. He was one of the guys, people that was murdered at the gas station. And he had started a network because I was about to join it. And one of their products was nutmeg oil.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. He mysteriously got killed.
Right, he got killed in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah,
outside of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And then they end up finding it was two brothers, and they end up supposedly murdering them, giving them death sentences or something for killing all these people. And they were shooting them from the trunk of their car. Remember that?
Yes, those guys. See, that whole story about the DC sniper was the intended target.
Right.
He was the intended target. So what they did is they'll kill around that, and when he showed up, he was just another target for those DC snipers. Nothing ever came of it with the investigation. I know exactly what you're talking about. The brother was a nutmeg, and he had interferon. Remember that?
Right. Was it Bridges? Tony Bridges?
Something like that. Yeah.
And the Mecca, the Medu. But anyway, because he was uniting indigenous businesses, and he had started in Atlanta, but he was
right.
murdered. Bridges was his last name, I believe, and he was murdered in D.C. He was murdered. He was murdered in D.C. and it was interesting how he was murdered, and this young lady who was a witness for some other stuff, and she was murdered. It was interesting who these people were. They had been mysteriously murdered.
There was also a female who came up with a water system.
Okay.
And she was in Atlanta, and she was showing that you could take water, and she made some type of filtering machine with the water. And they said.
They said what? I'm sorry.
She was mysteriously found murdered, but when they did autopsy on her, they said she had a heart attack. But they said something was injected in her to cause that.
Yeah.
And I noticed, I kept wondering, why is these people coming up murdered, targeted to be destroyed? Is anybody trying to do something positive for our people?
For the people, because I think hers was for the people.
Yeah.
But that will take them away from the system. And again, no more excuses comes in, because if we all start learning to be truthful, and that's what the thing was about, how you can't continue to keep lying, because now you're going to live in your lie. Because a lie is a front. A lie is a way of avoidance. A lie, that's why you lie. Your lie is to keep you from dealing in the details or facing the challenge that is in front of you. And you're running away from that. So when you do that, you create a wall. And that wall becomes what you work through. Well, now life is breaking the walls up. People are being exposed, and people are seeing you in clarity. Would y'all agree to that?
Yes.
Anybody else, agree to that there's a clarity coming out.
Yes.
Okay, you're seeing it in clarity. So it makes it no more excuses, is letting you know that people are going to be in clarity. So you need to be clear about how you're moving forward. Mm-hmm. And if you say whatever you say, you must do.
Right.
Okay, and what I have found is that when you say it, I get up every day. I have a focus to do. It's getting done. You don't necessarily know how everything's going to be done, but it's happening. And it's happening at and it's completing at very quick momentum. So either you're moving forward, you're not moving at all, but whatever you're thinking and what your truth really is, that's what's going to be multiplying right now. And we've gotten to be a people that it's become politically expedient to tell people what they want to hear and go about doing what you want to do. Well, now you're going to be seeing much clearer, okay, because what you do is going to have the consequences of what you do. Can be positive or they can be negative, but they're going to be back at you at a very, very quick pace. No more excuses. Is that clear for everybody? Life is your relation, because a lot of times we forget that our first relationship in life is with life. And our longest relationship is with life. When you wake up in the morning, it's life that you have. Now, what you have done within life is what you're going to be held accountable to and is under judgment by life. And life is not necessarily going to keep allowing you to funnel different, just use the energy without no production in the future. So these viruses that are coming, they're not, whether they're man-made, Google-made, whatever. The point of it is that nature is saying, okay, I'm gonna let it stick. Because it's a lot of folks that have been using excuses instead of moving forward with life. And you're going to be judged, weighed, and if you're not serving nothing, you're going to be gone. Or you're going to have the consequences that come from that. Any questions on what I said about our relationship? Any comments? I'm opening the floor for comments. What you think about that? What's your take? What's your take about it? How do you think about the no more excuses? Or it could be that you really don't want to be bothered with that. Anybody? Now I know for a fact. So what did you think about the no more excuses, LD Jean?
Well, when you first shared it with me, I pondered a while because I didn't want to just jump out and say something because it gave me a check. Mm-hmm. And made me realize that I'm full of a lot of excuses. And somehow I could blame it on the timing. I could blame it on my age. I could blame it on my circumstances. And I found out when I do that, I stay stuck. And guess what? Nobody comes to deliver me. And I said, man, I'm living my own sophisticated misery that I created until I learned to break out of that. Because, it's so easy to feel sorry for yourself and it's easy to blame somebody else for your being stuck. So I found myself saying, wow, this is really powerful. I got to watch what I say that I'm going to do. And now I got to really start doing what I say I'm going to do, or I get the consequences for not doing. And when you get past a certain age, you really got to start doing something because you can't go back doing being 16 and 20 and 30. And the more it made me also think about guarding what I say I'm gonna do. So I got to start thinking things through before I start putting it in the right perspective. Because if I said I'm going to do something now, I don't have no excuses. I got to do it, come hell or high water.
Or at least move towards it.
Right.
You got to keep that movement moving, that energy moving. Any other comments? Come on. Any other comments? Any other comments? So none of all the people in the audience today, you're going to tell me that y'all have had no comments of what's just been said. Nobody got a comment? All right. Well, I'm not going to continue. No more excuses.
That's what it is. No more excuses.
But this year you're really going to see it hit hard, that emotion.
Right.
So,
well, because I think we need change. Sometimes I don't like to say this, but I'll say it. It appears that the more someone whoop our behinds, the better we seem to move.
Well, that's normally the case, but when life whips your behind, it's a difference. It's not, when you were young, mama used to give you a sting or something, and you can move to the side. With life, your sting is much different, and it lasts much longer. Okay, and it can hold you seriously back. Okay, it's like quicksand, and so when you start to understand that life is cyclic, that life is a entity, it's a power. Think of we're living within this, we're a cell of life. So when life is now revving up, so the cells are moving and that spark is happening, everybody in the body of life has something to exchange with that, for that. And we have gotten comfortable with not exchanging anything. And let's be honest, we think money can get us out of everything. All we have to do is have some money. As long as I got money, I'm going to be able to make it. And you're going to find this year that money is not going to be the answer. Yes, it's going to be part of it, but you will not save anybody who has to live codependently on money. Okay, you don't see the deer and the squirrel and anything else on the damn planet living for money. So evidently life has already prepared us a way to live.
Right.
Okay, and we're going to have, those who can go back to it will make it without sickness. Will make it, and they're going to watch all the people who don't do it, how all the diseases they're getting, all the sicknesses they're getting. I mean, when you add up that since I've been in Charlotte, mostly everybody is sick. Just like when we went to the pizza house, okay, for cauliflower pizza. Okay, 2 of the women there, I could give liquid light because they all sick and they were young. Right. One was in her 30s and one was in her early 50s. And when they started telling you their problem, you almost felt sorry for them because they were so young to have to get a needle every day so that they can, once a week, and runs them $1,000 a week to get a needle shot in their stomach so their body can digest food. I told them, I said, no, you need to come stay with me for a week.
Right.
Okay, we'll get them some liquid life and get their blood re-energized.
Right.
And pretty girl, okay, but she shouldn't be that weak.
Well, I think, here again, it talks about when you was mentioned about no more excuses. It's like, it's just my take on it, is that like the young lady, they don't know who to go to in terms of healing. Because I believe healing is a process, because let's face it, we as an indigenous people, we are solely dependent on the artificial system to bring balance back to our lives, because we don't take the time to learn about how nature works with us. And the consequences are either permanent disability or we age before our time.
But I also think that with our people, and people in general, the human species, there's a part of us that become defiant. Okay? There's a part of us that know better, but we don't do better. There's a part of us that wants to be lazy. Okay, that dichotomy, that duality, and we let's be honest. We went over to the other side because it was convenient, and stuff like that. And not saying that to be one with nature is a hard life, because people who've been out there, no, it's nothing hard about it. Then why are so many people anti becoming one with life? Is because it doesn't seem like they have to do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we as a human species, okay, the people who cannot get out of that and find some connection with their function, mm-hmm. their purpose, so that they can meet their destiny, they just not going to be able to live. There's just not no more extra. Life was very abundant. Mm-hmm. You take one tree. If you let that tree grow and it reaches its maturity, it'll produce you 1,000 fruits every year for 30 years. Right. So you get 10 of them, you got 10,000 fruits, that you can't eat. I mean, even if you ate 2 a day for 30 days, there's only 60 fruit. It's not going to make a dent into anything. Mm-hmm. And that's enough fruit to allow some fruit to make more trees, and more than enough extra for us to eat. So nature kind of built in that prosperity, built in that wealth. It's automatically built into the system. But when we get to the point where we just too lazy to go and pick it off the ground.
Well, just like I made it a point to start learning about plants. I was reading an article that said young gentleman was 42 years old. The doctor gave him 6 months to live. And what he did, he took off and went to Alaska to live in the wild. Mm-hmm. And by him doing that, he put himself in a place where he could learn what healing was about. And he stayed, I think it said, 8 years in the wilderness. And he got healed. And
but you don't have to be necessarily in the wilderness, mm-hmm. to be healed. Mm-hmm. I was healed in once I decided that I followed the principle, okay, and applied that principle to nature. I ate 2 lousy plants, some leaves from some bush, mm-hmm. okay, and I haven't had a colon problem since. So it's not like healing is beyond us. Mm-hmm. It's your mindset and the way you look at nature, mm-hmm. that will give you what you need. I hope y'all can hear me. It's the mindset of nature, and it's the mindset that allows the healing to happen. Okay, and we don't want the mindset, we just want the result. And that is not going to be anymore. Okay, no more excuses. Oh, I'll get to it. All the excuses we tell ourselves to get a result. Right. Okay, and you're not going to be able to stay healthy if you're not moving. You're not going to stay prosperous if you're not moving. You're not going to be able to continue to lie. Okay, and not build structures, empty structures, and think that you're going to be able to receive wealth through those structures. No more excuses represents all of that. So we have to start rebuilding relationships based on trust. We have to start building integrity, mm-hmm. with ourselves. We start to have value for each other, so that, because that's where the wealth is going to come through. Mm-hmm. And so there's no more excuses. You know how many people this year alone, I know 7 people who have passed, and they all didn't pass from COVID-19. Okay. Mm-hmm. But they passed. But when you sit down and think of their attitude and what have you, and the quagmires that they created, the knots from all this emotional lying and coveting and COVID, they made a mess that allowed them to sink. They were in quicksand, but they wrapped that quicksand knot on their own feet. So people who have been lying and living through lies, watch what's going to happen to everybody on how they're going to hit that wall on, because true, whatever you actually are is going to be what you're going to be about. And the excuses you made so that you could receive without doing is going to be over. And so that's what we wanted people. That was what was in the now what's the good side? Because we're used to hearing bad news. Oh, I don't know. We've heard that a lot. What's the good news? The good news is that as you stop lying and start doing, okay, life will start giving you what you need. You're going to see that life is actually there for you, but it's waiting for you to become a positive part of it, right, instead of always being a parasite. So a lot of people who just not willing, I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't want to do something, because that's what we put on our heart. We've shut our heart down. We're going to do our thing. If your thing is not conducive with the life relationship, you're going to get sick. You're going to watch people around you get sick and die, and you're going to be right there in the crew. Any questions on that? How about RF and S and D and CIA? Any questions on that? And then you got the people who are looking for people who are getting sick. Then the first thing they do is looking for somebody who's not sick to enable them to continue. You follow me? So that means you got another group of lies going on.
Yesterday, an older lady, I was talking to her. She said, very looking family. She said right out of her mouth, she said, I'm straight. She said, I've gotten 2 shots. I've got the COVID-19 shots. I'm starting a whole new life over. I'm much happier now that I'm safe and that my family's safe. And I said, is that so? So you believe that those 2 shots you got has put you in the safety zone? She said, yes. And I advise you to get them too. And I looked at her, I said, you have my sympathy.
Right, because you've been real with folks lately. But we've been talking to the young people. Our conversations have been, and then all of them everybody has said thank you. They like that conversation. Where can I find this conversation? I need people to talk to us more in truth, because they can see it. They can, not something like, oh yeah, really,
Well, you got to understand too that a lot of the media is responsible for the people going and getting these shops, because they promote this as advertisement.
Right.
Heavy. 24/7.
Yeah.
That, and they billboards. They showing people who's supposed to be celebrities. You see, I got my shot. So they encourage. I was looking at Julius Erving, Will Chamberlain, not Will Chamberlain, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, look at
I heard his name the other day on the
Look at me, you see, I got my shot. So they're encouraging black folks to go ahead and get your shot, because it's all right. I got mine. You see, I'm still here. So go ahead and get yours. It's all right. They ain't gonna mess with you. Guinea pigs again.
So anyway, but that's just one thing they want you to take responsibility for.
Yeah, your death.
Right. So, that's good, your death. But as people who are life enthused and you take responsibility for your life, I don't necessarily need to take your shot to do that. If it's time for me to go, then I'm going to go. But if I keep my life strong and stuff, it's going to be the flu and go home. Yeah. And my body will build natural antibodies for it to keep myself strong. But people who are not taking responsibility for their life, they need a shot. And hopefully that shot will be strong enough to get, but I do feel that there's more of them coming, and they're going to come pretty quick. Any last comments? I'm really getting upset. Nobody's saying anything.
They scared.
Oh, they scared.
They scared.
Tell your truth.
the thing is, no one is right or wrong. They just want to have the opinion so they feel comfortable. At one time, I wouldn't say nothing, but now y'all can't. Now y'all ask me to be quiet now.
You got any comments for Elder Eugene?
Yeah, come on with it.
Anybody?
I'm listening to everything y'all say. Y'all have good conversation, so I'm listening.
Yeah, but we need you to put some input in it. See, when you just all you do is listening, all you doing is being a vampire. Okay, so all you doing is take. So you need to invest something into the quality of the conversation. Everybody does, and that's why we do it. You know, people just get happy listening and stuff like that. It lets us know that you just going through the motion and you just in here to dig in to see what you can use for yourself and move on. And that's what's going to stop. That's where it's no more excuse. What's your excuse for not making a comment and all you doing is receiving and not putting forth any investment, anything back? You got that? See, I think he says.
Yes, I got it. Yeah. You're right. No more excuses for us. Because like I said, when we see us, like I said before, our behavior must change.
But what
We just
behavior
keep
must change?
we keep carrying the same behavior. If we don't change our behavior, we're gonna get shot down more by the hundreds. I just use that as an example, that young 20-year-old. What the hell he running for?
Well, you talking about the boy that the little Puerto Rican boy that just got shot up? I think in Chicago.
That's the one in Chicago and the one in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute because in the news, 64 police killings has been in the United States in the last less than 20 days. It's like 3 to 4 people are being fatally shot for no reason a day. Okay, and that's what's going, and that's in the news. All these police shootings, and if you ever listen to what's going on with Floyd, that was just a straight out murder, and they're trying to make something else.
Sure. What goes on? Remastered 2009 by the Beatles on YouTube.
Okay, who's that? So what kind of communities, now that we understand that the relationship with life is not going to keep holding us in our individual patterns of artificial prosperity, what should we do? What kind of community? What is a community, and what should we do now?
Ambassador, I want to say one thing.
Please do.
Okay, what I see is something like Cali Tang. I see a community, that's a community where they police their own. Police don't come through there. It's a private community. Everybody knows each other. They have their community center there, whereas you really could be entertained right there where you live at. Other than going to the grocery stores or work or something, there's really no reason to leave that community.
I think that's wonderful. That's the way that's what an indigenous community is. And that is what we do. And originally your indigenous community was extensions of your kinfolk. Okay? And that's what we naturally actually build. Most people live next to each other. So, they live next to other, they live, how many of us know where your mother's here, the children are somewhere within a 5-minute radius of it. And that's how you built your communities. Traditionally, you would be a little closer. And so everybody understood everybody. In West Virginia, we have the Kelly Tank community is actually all one family. And then their spouses, and then, and then the children and the intermarriage because you have different spouses with the children. And the next thing you know, You have 2,500 people living there very, very easily. Okay. You have all of that. So when we say, I just wanted to know what people thought community is, because in the word community, you see the word unity. So what is your community to you? Because you had a thing. Say that.
To me, a community is people have the same mindset. Um, we have the same have the same goals, the same ideals, and the same belief systems that we all work with. To me, that's a community. And when you put the values first of what we are to do, I think it helps us because I believe in strengthening each other. I don't think there should be any weak um, among us. I think all of us should be strong and of one accord. I've watched, I've been in communities where people work together, the males, and it was so wonderful to see this, that they built all the structures, the houses, whatever needed to be done in terms of putting up houses. All the males came together and built a house for each other. Um, and I asked them, where did they come up with that concept? I was shocked what they told me. They said they got it from us. And I said to myself, I don't know any of our people that I know do that. But that's how they learned that and being a community from our, I guess, ancestors. And now it's just like we have great big neighborhoods, but no violence at all. And that's why we mentioned before that I don't think a police, because if we would stop and start looking at this from a different perspective, these police shootings could stop. Because what they're looking at, we have never been a together people. And if we had our own communities and then our own elders, if we were faced with something of that nature, we would have elders who would go to bat for you. But because we don't have nobody to represent us, then the continue of these killings will continue because no one is stepping up only in violence. Like, okay, they want all of a sudden, when one of us is killed, we want us to have a very peaceful mindset. We want to just start loving. I said, that's amazing. When they kill us, they want us to be very loving and nonviolent. How can that be? I don't, so I think this has to do with that we don't have strong communities to bounce back on. And because a lot of these cases, you look at them, they're always isolated. And if I ever get the chance to go down to the police department, I'm going to tell them the truth. They may not like it, but I'm going to tell the truth. Why would you send someone of a different culture into a situation when in fact you already know going in there that those cultures don't mix? It's always someone of a different culture is always shooting these people. And I have never seen or heard where one of our police officers have killed one of them. They don't send them into those types of situations. They send
Very rare.
very rare do they send them into our situations that we have, so that we end up someone always getting murdered because we're different people. They look at you totally different. It's like me. I'm big and strong looking. They look at me as a big buck, a trophy buck, a big old grizzly bear, cause big and strong. Let's take him down. And so that's how they look at us. But I've never heard where one of our brothers on the police force have went in and started killing their people, and resin handcuffing them and throwing them down and choking them. You don't have that, but you always hear of these other people because I believe that it's against nature for other people to handle other people's situation.
That's why we have the topic here. Are we in military
Yes,
war?
we are.
And the media is saying one thing,
Right.
but the reality is saying something
Right.
else because there's 64 people in the last 3 people a day are being murdered. So the number of murders has not changed. There's so many cases being put up. They just did a 9-year-old. I mean, excuse me, when does this stop? Or when do we realize? Any comment?
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. A brother was telling me one day about an older brother. He was telling me about how it used to be, and in fact, he was a retired police officer. He says that he remembered years ago when the police would come into the neighborhood and get somebody, that the elder men would come out and say, "That's so and so boy. Don't hurt him. Take him all down, but don't beat on him. That's so and so boy. Y'all go and get so and so." And they'll try to call somebody, parents at work or whatever the case is. But the message to the police was don't beat on him. He going with you already. So that's so and so boy. Letting the police know that that's one of the people in the collective child, and don't beat on him. If he's going with you voluntarily, there's no need for you to beat him up or kill him.
And you're right with that. They used to come to your house and they used to send a representative to come. But you have to understand, our population was 10 times bigger than it is now. So they was not trying to do no race riot, okay, with the population, because if all the men decided not to want to support the patriarchy of the United States, there would be no United States today. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they're killing, and the reason why I brought it up is because you've heard people say, well, we're in a military state, but according to international law, police are the military.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we keep ignoring that. They're not here to protect you. They're not here to do anything like that. They're actually here to keep you repressed. They want you. So, it always amazes me because when I hear them talking about, well, police brutality and Biden talking about he's going to change policy, exactly what constitutional policy is he going to change? And then they try to make it as individual, but it's not individual, it's collective. And that they will do this to each other. If you are a black or brown male, okay, you're open for scrutiny by the military, the paramilitary of which is the United States Police, and they're there to keep you under their wraps, because as far as they're concerned, that you are who they're to conquest.
Well, because the biggest question you ask, why is it they're building so many precincts in your neighborhood?
Well, that's all the precincts are for. And it's funny because once you start looking at it, you're going to find that wherever there's a neighborhood that's predominantly for indigenous people, there's a precinct right there. That's your overseer.
Exactly.
That's your overseer. That's and we're the ones who keep giving this illusion that that's not the way it is. No, they don't precinct. When they come to the other communities or the other tax-paying communities, they're going to those communities and they're there to make sure that those communities don't see us.
Right.
And we keep ignoring that. Now, when they go, now, are we under a military arrest and we don't know it? Because they're stopping people and literally taking them straight into a captivity paradigm. They, they did that to this lieutenant army, just a lieutenant the other day, and he taped the whole thing, and all he asked him was one question: "What are you stopping me for?"
Well, under the Obama administration, they don't have to give you a reason why they stopped you.
Well, they didn't.
He put that in law.
Yeah.
Obama did. That if a police officer suspect that you are a criminal or any kind of suspicion, he can have you arrested based on that.
Well, that's what they did with this guy. That was the same thing.
Right.
But that law came out of the what's his name, Bill Gates, when he came home and his neighbor called the police on him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the bill we got from that, because he kept asking the police, what are you doing in my house?
Henry Gates.
And
it was him.
Now, if that incident happens today, they kill him.
Right.
They'll kill him because that's insubordination to ask them, what are you doing? When do you do wrong? When have you crossed the line? But if you are dealing with me as an enemy combatant, there is no cross the line.
Right.
Okay, and that's what we need to be looking at. Are we actually a part of the United States, or are we enemy combatants of the United States? Is anybody following me here?
Yes.
And if we are the enemy combatants of the United States, don't we need to change the way we look at it? Because all of this notoriety with Floyd, they killed him and others right in the face. It was videotaped. Okay, now they try to make it out that this shoving. Now we're gonna see if he gets acquitted or not.
Right, because on one case they had, if you notice during George Floyd's case, they brought on all his bad stuff that he was into, and trying to use that against him as to say that by him being a drug user and taking it, that this perhaps might have caused his death.
Right. Well, they did that, but that's not what. They've done all of that, but
right.
It's clear it's asphyxia. There's too many experts that came. I've been watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'm still looking at the law, because the laws are skewed, written by the legislators and voted in, that make it almost impossible, that give them the leverage to kill you for no reason.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see what comes out of this. Now, we're saying this is brutality, but Black, maybe we need to start seeing it as military occupation for what it is. That, and that maybe we need to start marching, not about stop police brutality and get rid of precincts, but do what the sister said earlier. We need to start policing our community.
Exactly.
Okay, we need to step up and be. We need to start building stores and building our homes and creating products that can support our people. We need to take the monies that we get and make sure that we have that. And that's what Uwaja is about. We're constantly saying, people, come up to Uwaja, come listen to a lecture, come and hang out, so you can know what it is to be on property in which we're the ones who tell you it's okay if you can do something, so and so and so. And that's unfortunately not where our people collectively, their egos aren't there yet. You want to say something? I see that.
The only problem I have is the fact that, let's look at this incident. It's always happened that they're pulled over for a what do you call it?
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, yeah. Pulled over. And from there, it's just like, for instance, whether we realize it or not, there's a curfew for us.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, that we have to be in in our own place. But see, we don't live in communities like that. We live in neighborhoods. We have various jobs to go to. We go hang out. But most of where we go, it's not. We don't control that. So as certain, when I used to deliver papers in the morning at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was stopped 7 times in one week. Want to know what I'm doing out this time of night and the different neighborhoods. If we got the police said we got a call that you was peeping in people's cars, and I said, sir, do you think? Then I said, I deliver papers, and then he had to look them paper. When they saw all the papers that I lived, then they said, you may go.
But you had a purpose. Do you see if there was a plantation?
For me to be out there.
All right. So at that point, they knew you were going to be out there.
Right.
Delivering papers. That's what you do.
Right.
Okay. But if anybody else is out there and they don't know. They know. One thing about the police make it a point to know every black male that's there.
That's right.
They also make it a point to make sure that they keep the black male count in the jails. And the church helps them.
Why you say the church helps?
Oh no, the church knows Mary Jo's son. Okay. And when Mary Jo's son gets to a certain age, he has to be monitored and broken into. So what kind of Mary Jo's son do you have? Is he a studious son that seems like he can make it into the other system? Or is he a independent thinking son and he doesn't necessarily honor rules? And what they look at is how well you respect your mother. The men who have respect for their mother seem to make it to the other side because they're a little bit more balanced. The ones who are full of a lot of ego, they already have a whole dossier on this. Okay, by the time they're 16, they know. And it's time for you to be whipped and put into the male plantation system, which is called the what? The prisons.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's where you are. That's your captivity. All of this is a part of the slavery system. We're the ones who are having a problem with it. See, in slavery system, you live as individuals, but there's nothing on this planet that's individual. We're a collective and we're made to use too. You're a man without a wife. Okay? They look at all of that. They know exactly what is what. We're the ones who are not paying attention. And you start paying attention more when you start having your own soil, or you're on soil as a collective. Do you follow me? And you heard the word I said. What did I say? Soil. I didn't say nothing about land.
Right.
Okay, it's a big difference.
What is excuse me, Ambassador? One time, and sorry to stop you, but what is land?
Land is what is used for artificial production. It's soil that's been killed. If you ever go out and look on the streets and stuff and you see land for sale, I put money on it, you won't see trees. It's already dug up.
No,
it no longer can hold,
A lot of this have trees on it.
Maybe in North Carolina, but everywhere else, land is stripped soil. Okay? When you look at the moils, now they may have a barrier. I call it the barrier, but most of that soil has been stripped. There's no deers living on it, no birds living on it, nothing. Land is soil that's already been put in captivity. Okay, and is being stripped to be used for something else outside of nature. It's not living with nature. They're taking something from, and they call it land. That's a captivity term. So we never go out looking for land. We always go looking for some soil that we can remove as being land. Okay, you want healthy soil to purchase. You got to look for hunting land. But we, the indigenous people, we don't use the words of our captivity. You got that? We have to stop doing that. Because as long as you're using captivity words, they got you under captivity. You've just You just stated that captivity is what you operate from. Indigenous people may have been captive at one time, but they're no longer living as captives in captivity. So the first thing we do is we get some soil. So Uwaja has, just in West Virginia alone, 236 acres that we have made into a nature preserve. Do you follow me? We've done everything
Yes.
we can because we've taken it out of what? Captivity. Okay? Now, another word to use is property. Okay, and property can be used better than land. But I don't use land for nothing. So when you say land, it should be stripped, have no trees, and it's ready to be industrialized. That means put a mole on it or something. Is everybody, did that answer your question well?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do you have any questions on that word explanation? So we don't use land, you use soil. And when you register, we make that a clear, and then you start to see it. And you're like, oh shit, she's right. Oh yeah, you start to see it. But as long as you hold on to their wording and those conquest terms, it keeps you enslaved. It literally puts you back in your chain.
I got a question to ask you. I have
Okay.
a friend of mine lives out by the Charlotte Douglas Airport, and they got over 50 acres out there.
Mm-hmm.
The airport is already pushing them to sell their property.
Mm-hmm.
And they told them within 7 years, if they did not sell their property, they can take it for intimate domain. How can they do
Right,
that?
they can do that.
And why can they have the right to do that?
Okay,
How
when
can
you
stop
buy
that?
property in the United States, okay, it's actually under the Public Land Trust, which the United States is getting rid of and making claim for everything. And I think in with the 7 years, those of us who have not taken our soil and put it and register it as indigenous soil to our collective, that eminent domain will be. Now, the United Nations draft declaration for indigenous rights makes preparations for that. But all countries have a right to have eminent domain. It's called eminent domain.
Right.
And for an airport or hospital and stuff like that, that you can be, they have to reimburse you for it.
Well, they offer them a certain amount, but he wants a certain amount. But see, the only thing they're doing is extending the runways for that darn airport.
It doesn't make a difference. The point is that the United States, even in the international community, the international community will honor the United States' right. Even though we don't see it as a right, you shouldn't be able to take. But if the United States offers you equitable payment for that soil, okay, you are supposed to sell it to them, and find you another piece of soil to be. Now, I'm not saying this is great. I'm just giving you what the laws are.
Because we fought up against that now, that they're forcing them.
No, they can force them. They can even bring the military in. That's how deep it can go.
Well,
because whether we like it or not, we are living under captivity. Okay, and we collectively, 770 million acres belong to our people. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
If it's whatever you have is within that 770 million acres, okay, that United States is claimed as their mainland, continental United States, U.S., over America, okay, then they are willing to fight for it. Now, is this our mistake? No. Was it our ancestors? Yes. We paid a price to become citizens of the United States, and we're not full citizens. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why they're boogie rigging all these laws and all of this stuff. Because the only people who have half citizenship are the males of America. Okay? Females was never included until 1968. And then females got the privilege to have an active vote. Now, how do we lose everything? If you're North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Florida was neutral, Tennessee, and all of that, they were actually part of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. They were actually a part of the Confederate umbrella. Okay, guess what our ancestors fought for? No, what were you taught?
I think he's asking something.
Okay. They fought for the Confederates. And the Confederates lost the war. And that's the way we lost everything. Any questions on that? So they do have, unless we're willing to fight, and we can fight. We can fight the system, but we have to become more independent from the system. Any questions? And we have to learn skills. Any questions? CR, RF, any questions? What's your opinion? I'd like to know. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
So that's where that goes. And we have a tendency to keep forgetting that there's more to us being free than just going shopping. Okay? And we've gotten comfortable with that. Okay, and then when we want something, no, your friend who has the thing for the airport, unfortunately, they can fight it all day long. They can hold it off some, but they most likely are going to lose that.
Well, because he said they told them that they were going to offer them an offer.
They have to do that.
And if the offer, he said, I want more than the offer that they're offering.
Then take them to court.
So, because I see what they have done since I've been here. So it's almost like they say, just like I was going to say about, when the police stopped me that night, they asked me, had nothing to do with what they stopped me for. But they asked me that I know a particular family that lived here. And I didn't know who they were talking about. They said, wherever you do, we got a history of this family since 1982. Mm-hmm. Stay away from them. They're known for this, they're criminals. So,
to them.
Because they sell.
They slander.
They slander. But the problem with that is that when they come up to one of us, they think all of us know everybody. Because they say, we know everybody. Most likely, I didn't know them. But they target that to say that if you ever get involved, this is what's going to happen to you. But when they pulled me up and they saw my record, and the policeman, he said, you have one of the most cleanest records, and he stopped and was said, a black man. He said, that I've ever seen. Then he asked me, what do I do outside of this? I said, mind my own business.
Mind your own business.
Yeah, that's what I do. Because it's like they were trying to pull something out.
Yeah, that you didn't know.
Yeah. So it's interesting how we're going to have to live to be smart.
But we've always been living this way. It's just coming in more and more and more. And when we stand in principle, okay, life automatically gives us, and they can't stop that. So when, as far as United States and the world is concerned, United States whipped the Indians. And we can call ourselves Africanists, which means refugees of America. We can, adopt all these foreign identities and stuff. We can play, but the truth is that we still gonna have to go through a process to get out of this mess. So every family was supposed to hold their earth. I can't stress it enough. And whites are going around today, everywhere they go, and they buying up earth because they know you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And when I say you, I'm saying us collectively. I'm done. I've gotten some. I'm trying to get more. We're not thinking on a higher level. We're still seeing ourselves as individuals. And you can kill out individuals quickly. So that's where we're at. And so he's going to lose that now. If he gets his family involved, he gets the people around them involved. Now they can hold off. Now, if he wants more money, then they are supposed to pay them what they want for that property. That's under international law. You can offer whatever you want. Do you say so? I want $3.7 million for us to give up our family plot. Okay, then if they say, well, we want to counteract, we're only going to give you $75,000, then you take that to the court. Once they mess with the court the wrong way, then you take that to the higher arena. But most of the time, by the time they get there, what they do is burn you out. And that's something I've had to learn to deal with. How do you deal with the fact of, because burning is a form of control. And what they do is they burn. And they do it all the time. In Atlanta, all around the Omni Station, what's that, that building, the Georgia Dome, right? Mm-hmm. That was an indigenous neighborhood that is built on. Mm-hmm. The soil that is built on was indigenous. And the people did not want to give up their beautiful homes, okay? Mm-hmm. And what happened was the homes started catching on fire. One by one.
That's right.
A fire happened. So they burned them out. And they do this all over. It's not limited to the United States. They do it in Belize. They do it in Guatemala, El Salvador. They burn. So you got to worry about being burned out. You follow me? Because then once you burn, and they burn you. They pay people coming in and do arson. I'm telling you. And they burn you out. Then you don't have nothing invested. I have a Garifuna girl, and some Chinese came in there and they wanted her spot, her family spot. And the brother and the sister was willing to sell. And she wasn't, because she was running a business there and what have you. And lo and behold, they burned her out. It's Tim's Shopping Center there now, and they burned her home. They burned every building that was on there. One by one, they went to the ground. Nothing left. Okay? And so she was forced to have to find some place to live, and they burned it down. Then they came back. Now let's sit at the negotiating table. Because your vested interest is now all you have is the soil. And they took it to court, and the Belize court didn't come in her favor. And I believe they didn't come in her favor just because she was a female. She was going up against her brother, and the men automatically win. So she lost out.
They always do.
Okay, she lost out. So I'm not saying that the system is in our favor. No, but we need to understand that certain things, if they're going to put an airport in expansion of the airport, then you got a heavy fight. Now, can they get the money that they want? Yes. They can get the money that they want, even if they did burn them. Do you follow me? You can give them the money that they want. Because once it's burned down, if you're not living there, you can keep the court case going forever until the federal courts. But you can, money is not something they have a problem with giving. Do you follow me?
Right.
I don't know. They just make up the money, but they will give it. So you just got to be persistent about it.
Well, one of the guys in the hunting club that's part of it, just let me know there's a guy.
Talk up, so.
Okay, there was a guy who he's got, I think 80 acres down in Chester. The state came in and offered him a piece of the profit, not all of it, so they can put up deer plots, so they can bring young Boy Scouts in and teach them how to hunt on his property.
Right.
But now he'll let us hunt on it, but we got to pay him to hunt on his property.
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay. Now, instead of him allowing us to hunt, but the state offered him $8,000
Okay.
to come in on his property and set up
to shoot.
no, set up deer plots.
Right.
I don't know if you know what a deer plot is.
Yeah.
So the Boy Scouts and these other
Can
white
come in.
organizations and come in and hunt on his property.
Right, hunt the deer that's on you.
But now when it comes to our hunting club, he wouldn't allow us to hunt on unless he got money.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't know. He don't use it for nothing else.
I didn't ask you that. I said, what's wrong with that?
I thought it was somewhat, because we offered him something to meet if we killed a deer.
Yeah, but what's wrong? The United States is offering him $8,000, and you want to hunt and kill the deer for nothing.
Well, see, this is what they do.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. So what they're doing, what he don't see, this is how they open up the door for.
I agree with that. I agree
all
with
of
that.
these
people to come out and kill out all the deer.
Kill out all the deer, and then have these other people of different persuasions come in and lease out the lands. And so
yeah, but they're paying him.
Yeah, they're paying him.
So therefore, if you pay therefore you need to pay him so that he won't have that incentive to open the door for other people. So that's when we start
paying them.
You're supposed to pay him. So I don't understand what the problem is.
So what had happened, the people in the hunting club started dropping out. They don't want to pay the dues.
Oh, so they don't want to pay the dues so that they can have ability to hunt on this man's land who has a deed.
You're right. But see, he didn't get like that till the state offered him money to come in. So what they don't understand is they want to not only take and use it for hunting ground, but they want to take all of that down there and cut the trees down as well. That's what they're doing. They come in shrewdly and offer you money.
Mm-hmm.
Because we think money is more valuable than what we have.
Well, he can say no to the money and let y'all.
Oh, yeah, right. He ain't saying he ate it too.
Oh, but what I'm saying is that I don't see anything wrong with him asking y'all to give a donation towards him.
So that's what Brad do. He gave him some money, and now that other people getting the wind that you can get money. And they slaughtered up the deer. We went to the deer processing place. Whole deers are landing with their heads shot off, clean off.
Right, but that's
Big
the way they do it. They kill about 3 million deer a year.
They're using M16s.
Right, they're using M16s.
Just slaughter. That's not hunting. That's killing.
What's the difference?
Hunting is a different. We don't just go in there and kill deer. Oh. It's a certain type deer that we kill.
Right, you only kill the males and the older bucks. That's what you're supposed to.
Yeah, but a certain type, we don't just go in there and they just shoot anything walking.
Yeah, it's going to get worse because the United States, they're shooting them now to stop them from living.
Right.
They want to get rid of it. Because, venison is being sold at Arby's.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and when the minute they make you into a sandwich, that means you need thousands of animals are going to be slaughtered. And so they're definitely wanting to wipe out the natural deer. And they're also giving them shots. I read wildlife things. So, but anyway, the point I'm making is that once you have your soil, you can control who goes in it. And white folks are going to trespass. We have a trespassing problem at Uwazoo.
Right, they go in the back.
They go through our back entrance.
You're right.
You know,
and no male up there controlling.
You know, and the back end. Well, we have a lot of soil, and we need to constantly. But when the hunting season comes,
Yeah.
you know, we're real clear that we want to stay in principle because
they'll go up there and
they are always coming up, riding down our roads on our property. You know, and we hear it when they shoot, but we have a lot of deer, and we want the deer, and the deer's been there for years, complete deer family.
Right.
And once we get 1 or 2 deers from the property, we don't mess with it no more. We just need enough, because that's enough to feed a lot of people.
Right.
But we're not in the deer hunting, I'm going to sell the meat business. So once they make a business out of everything, you got another level of invasion happening. But unfortunately, over the years and the generations and centuries, we have not collectively, the males have not stood in the right position, stood for the right thing. You know, I was told years ago, there's nothing that goes on in the United States that the black man doesn't condone. So it's a collective fight that y'all have, and y'all collectively, the males have to get together. And all you ever hear is them hating the female. Why do you hate the female? Because if you don't respect her, you can avoid doing what you're supposed to do. Okay, so on an as a result of that, we don't have the individually, we don't necessarily have the networks to enforce what we may want all the time. Any questions on what I just said? Any comment? No one? Well, what I want to end the show because we're running out of time now, and we need to understand that this summer we're going to be about teaching skills to build, and that all people who have listened to this, we need people to come and help and learn how to become more independent and live with their soil. And you know, having soil needs to be the agenda for everybody now, for our future, keeping and making sure our children understand the importance of it, that they'll have a way to live in the future. But the past is catching up, and the karma of the past is now. Any questions? Well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead on and end the show. I think we had a good discussion. I'm glad. I want to give thanks to everybody who's came out and taken the time to have the discussion. And we're going to continue having these discussions just to get people to think, okay, and keep the record, understanding the reality versus all the narratives that keep us off point. So the object of everything we do is to stay on our square. Let's set the record straight so that we can take our time and use whatever finances life has given us and keep investing so that we will thrive. So without further ado, I'm going to say see you next time. Look out for if you're not on the mailing list, please be on the mailing list. Subscribe on the new site, and we will be sending out it's on the website, but I'm going to send it. I don't like the way that it's done. The uh, the agenda, the schedule for events for this summer, and try to make it a point to come up to Yawaja, because we're private. It's private, and it's one of the few places you can come and be with your own kind, talk with your own kind, and commune with our nature. Without any more saying, oh, we forgot. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. We forgot to do our allegiance and stay life enthused. So, without further ado, here I go. My allegiance is to life, my soul, and my blood of America. I value the blood of life given to me. I respect the blood of life shared with me, the love for the life force that flows. I love the life force that flows within me. I trust the power of life to provide, sustain, and thrive with me. Principles that govern life protect me from the ego, false illusions created by man, and perceptions that bring fear. My allegiance is to stand for life, earth, and America. And focus, fearless, and life enthused is how I remain. Ho ho. So till next time, everybody, stay well, stay strong, and stay life enthused. I teach you way.
Akichwa.